When you operate in the crypto market, right now, the altcoin market gives you this basic idea, and that's on a weekly chart, which has its own significance. If you do compare it with the asset it's trading against, which is dollar, meaning we put it against dollar here, yeah? So if you go against euro, if you go against other currency, fine, you can consolidate based on that. But right now, the consideration should be based on what dollar is doing. And that kind of takes us to the crypto market where volatility is basic idea. Now on a daily chart, price action shows you I need to come down. The momentum shifted to the downside. We talked about it. Now you got an inverted hammer just at that trendline resistance. What next? A shorter time horizon chart. Does that agree with this? Or if it does not, what should you be anticipating? Yeah, what kind of moves would happen in a market where whales would like to take advantage of the liquidity providers, which is, as they call, the dumb money. Now, there's a lot of different things which you will have to bring in to a shorter horizon to see why that still matches up with the macro. Now, what we are going to try and execute here is in a short duration, we want to cover a few different assets in different segments, just like we do, and see if they are about to reverse. Welcome to the Scientific Investor family, where the normal retail guys get to learn how to become the next top 10% of this world. While you are here in the crypto market, you should be greedy to take the right decision, not the price, but the decision. And for that is where the SI family stands out. Think about this. We were talking about all of this, and I'm so happy to see that it played out as we described it. Now, in this market, when you do see different volatility region in different segments, yeah, I agree. You need to understand this. There's a lot of different assets going up, down, up, down. So here, as I've been describing in CoinEX platform, it's kind of easy to do that. Now, if you pick real world assets, which is, huge in fundamental terms, but look at this. There's a lot of them in negative. There's a lot of them in basic green, just below 10%. And what are you anticipating? That's why I would argue, right now when you go to AI team, you're like, okay, there's a lot of them doing good numbers. Fine. When you go into memcoin segment, you see a lot of them doing more than good. So now you are starting to watch that shift, the pivot in capital flow within the crypto market. Say, even if you want to pick up AI and big data, that's starting to get it, but it's not up to where we would like it to be. Yeah. So more idea should be on different networks. Say, if you want to pick up, say, Solana, where I'm negative on Solana, but when I'm looking at the network and its activity, I'm like, whoa, what am I missing here? Yeah. Because there's a lot of these coins which are going up. Then you slowly come into the big caps of the same network. And there you see negative. Yeah. Which is kind of invalidating a lot of it. So this is exactly why you have to understand the news, the narrative in that region. So when you are in here and you're going through the news, you need to know, okay, why is that asset losing liquidity? Why is that asset gaining liquidity? Why is the trading volume increasing like crazy? So if you want to trade something on a different exchange, understand the liquidity is everything. And suddenly, if you do see a lot of increase in the liquidity in an asset, okay, there is whale activity incoming. Now let's break the market down in an easy way. We'll start with the real-time charts. This is a 4-hour chart showing you each and every time I'm coming back down. I am making something like this, which clearly is not a bad sign. I mean, if it's me, I would argue that's a good sign. You're bouncing. So if you're a trader, you're like, okay, that's a good sign. It's bouncing. But if you're a buyer on a long term, you're looking at a lot of different perspective. Yeah, you can bounce. You should bounce. Good. But then how high should that go? Is it worth trading unless you are a highly levered micro trader? Yeah. Now, step back onto the daily chart. This is where Bitcoin gives you the idea. So you had the first pullback, which showed you there is a shift in momentum happening on a daily. Yeah, obviously. Now you get a lower low and a lower high regions. That kind of shows, okay, on a daily chart, the negative divergence which it showed is actively working. Good. But then you go on a 3-day chart and you see, okay, fine, I do have a systemic long-term negative divergence, but the short-term, the immediate reversal sign is not yet here. So maybe there is a possibility that this kind of a move to the upside, which, may not be that 120, 130 region, but it can still put a new high and attract more liquidity into the market. And that's why I said, watch the liquidity in different assets so that you understand how exactly is that working, like which asset is attracting all of that. Like you'll have a lot of different ideas to look from, but for sure you need to look through the reason as well, because just because the price is going up does not mean it can be a great opportunity. Perfect. Now step on to the weekly. This is where all that I have been talking about has played out exactly. Why? Watch, when you do operate on a higher horizon, higher time frame, it kind of gives you an advantage. Yeah. And that is clearly visible. We saw that price action correcting down like we wanted. Now, what's the next one? The MACD crossed, the price started correcting. Yeah. Now, the retest on the RSI moving average is not yet done. So we still have that. Now, back in the day, we have seen that play out once or multiple times. So we don't know whether it's going to be just once or a couple of times before it actually bounces back up. But what I can reassure you is that the monthly chart, that is developing heavy negative divergence. If you get a monthly candle close, which is say if June close in red for some weird reason, that is this one. Whether we like it or not, whether the assets which we wanted to make profits on gave us the amount of profits we needed or we liked or not, you'll have to take tough decisions. Because if Bitcoin is going down, now you'll have to ask the question, okay, November 2021, how many of you remember? Your portfolio was still going up after this top for some of you. But that point was it. That was where you should have closed it all. Now, say you took massive profits from XRP. Perfect. You put it into other assets, say they are up barely maybe 50%, 20%, 100%. Now, in the meantime, if you get a micro negative divergence, say a 3-day, you don't have to wait for the weekly and monthly to say get out. Because this exit is way more important than the previous one. Previous one was important. That was tough too, but this time the decision will be made as an exit from the buying side of the equation. You can go on to the selling side. You can short the market with very low liquidity, meaning that's okay. When they drop substantially. But understand, keep the leverage low. Don't put it on a 5x or a 10x when you short. You want to keep it on a spot naked short, maybe just x1, which is on a future side. You get that. Yeah. Now, pick this onto Ether chart. Now watch this. This is one of the primary reasons why the SI family went in heavy on Ether. Did I like that? No, I really don't like that asset, man. I mean, honestly, why would I? Yeah. But the market, when it gives you this idea, there's a lot to digest. And that's a 3-day chart. Yeah. So when you go on a weekly, it's showing me something. Whether I agree with it or not, it doesn't matter. What matters in here and what gave, I mean, honestly, what gave SI family the advantage over all of the other crypto groups in the world is how we kept our thought process aside and listened to what the charts were saying. I think this is important. Now watch, there is another thing which is playing out in here. That's the monthly. Do I like it? No, not really. But watch, the MACD cross here to the upside. Just before that happened, I mean, there's two things. One, when it is happening. Two, just before it happened. Yeah. So we're kind of going to that direction where it can be just before it's happening. Yeah. Fine. There was a pop. Good. After the MACD cross or just at the MACD cross, there was a corrective candle, volatility. Then from that point, this shit actually went up. Now, remember, this thing is going up against Bitcoin. So Bitcoin can go down 50% and Ether can drop 30%. And still this will play out. You don't have to see Ether going to 20,000 for this to happen. Yeah. So keep in mind, you are looking at the crypto market with relativity. Whether you should be in one asset or the other kind of goes with this. So now I'm thinking like this. If Ether is about to run up against Bitcoin, say we are somewhere here, we are going to get this burst. That's a 300% move. Maybe in dollar terms, it may do a 50% or 100%. I'm happy with that. Now, the next thing we have to keep in mind is that when the price is aligning with all these roofs, the strength index should also be plotted as such. Now that means you don't have too much room to run to the upside on a monthly. You have a bit of a room, that's decent. And that kind of aligns very well for me with respect to the general market sentiment. Now, if you pick the total alt market, it shows you what we talked about is happening. We are in this region where the MACD crossed to the upside, RSI retested the moving average, and it consolidated 42 days, which means we have up until somewhere close to 16th of this month. That's another 12 days to consolidate. And if we repeat history, another 35 days we run to the upside. That's mid to late July. I mean, that kind of fits very well with what I've been talking about for the last few months in here. And if you do look at the price action, say we checked Ether, now we'll pick Doge. It's an entirely different industry, yeah? Now, when you do look at this, my question is, okay, what is it actually playing out? I mean, what is this narrative, yeah? The MACD kind of gives you the same idea. The RSI gives you the same idea. And the price action shows you almost similar moves. So I'm like, okay, why should we neglect that? Because when you go on a higher time frame to validate whether that's true or not, that higher time frame, which is a monthly in here, says, yeah, I'm good. I mean, I'm on the same page. Good. That means you have possibility that this asset can do something like this. Why? It did not show you a negative divergence on a monthly. Good. Perfect. But it kind of showed you a little bit of negativeness on the weekly. Now, price went up. Yeah. RSI didn't go up that much. That's it. But it did not show you a negative divergence. So this guy can come back up. Now, what does that mean? Now, I'm being conservative on this, saying like, guys, watch. Maybe it's a 200%. Maybe it's a 150%. But remember, if you were dollar cost averaging and you bought it in here, you got a 200+%. Now, if you're looking for a decent percentage gain, Then you're watching this. Okay, what if this thing actually go to $1? That's a 5x from the bottom, or your dollar cost average, or another 3x from here. That is a decent possibility. Trouble is, all that it does, when it does, is in this duration. What is that? That's like a 35 days duration. Huh? Is that crazy? It's not. It's not. Because when it actually starts, it kind of is all over by 35, 40 days. That makes a lot of sense. So if that is what we are going to watch or observe in this market, we have barely 2 to 3 months. Max 3 months, most likely 2 months. Are you prepared well enough? Are you watching the news? Are you watching the liquidity? Or at least, are you really watching the segments inside which you are? Because if not, it is going to be troublesome. Now, say you pick one asset. Now, if it's me, I would say, okay, go into it, watch the feed. What exactly is happening in a lot of these different assets? Is it actually playing out well? Are they trying to improve the network? Are they improving the partnerships? Are they getting new partnerships? Are the new partners developing on the network? Like, these are all fundamental things. Great. Knowing that is important, but knowing where the market is trending back up is way more important. Now, on XRP side of the equation, which is still below a macro resistance, we're watching this to see, can we break higher? Because if we do, it's a good thing. It's a great thing. The monthly kind of closed as a doji, which is a hammer. Yeah. And it's an inverted hammer, which kind of shows like I want to go back up to 2.8, 2.9 region. That's a good thing if it can actually do that. Now we go on a weekly, but it says the momentum is something where you should not neglect the trend. Now, what is the trend? There's a lot of people saying this is trending higher. But let me ask you this. Is this one high? Till that point, it was trending higher, wasn't it? Yeah? Higher highs? Perfect. After that, what happened? Lower high. Yeah? After that, lower high. Yeah? And with respect to those, you got lower lows. Right now, you have a similar high, which means you may do dum, 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 dum. Yeah? That's possible. You can come back down here, and if that double bottom happens, oh, man, that's a great buy. If that thing goes back down to that 1.6, 1.8 and makes a bottom, and it's saying, I'm about to break back with a bullish divergence, perfect. But until then, be patient enough. Yeah, I'm not saying this is going to 0. I'm not saying this is going to 1,000. I'm saying this is not the right time to think like that. What you will have to do is to understand what the MACD cross means, what the whale traps really mean. In here, what you're watching is the MACD is trying to cross to the downside. And what happens? Price goes up. And then the price follows the direction of the MACD cross. Perfect. Which means the weekly still gives you some time to do that. Okay, that's payments, that's memcoin, that's smart contract. What next? We'll pick up, say, we'll go to gaming. This is gaming. Mana, Decentraland. It's showing you on a weekly, I would like to go up, man. I would like to do this. Good. Now we go on a 3-day. You see, the momentum is still down. So before I do that on a weekly, I would like to do this. That's what the 3-day says. Good. Now I go to a daily. And the daily says, okay, I agree with the 3-day because my resistance region is somewhere here where we broke to the downside. So I'd like to retest this and either make a double bottom or put in a new low before I go back up. So I would honestly argue that you need to look at all of these horizons before you make a final decision. Because the monthly, yes, it matters way more than a lot of the other things. But to understand the timing of that equation, you need this. Yes, the pattern on a monthly looks, gorgeous. If you're looking at the gaming industry, that's perfect. Even if you're talking about a short-term move here, that's 145%. Now, yes, This is not you make massive gains. This is where you compound the right decisions which you took early in the cycle. Because when the next cycle comes in, you are there to play. You are there alive in the market. If the market chops you out, it's bad. So when you go levered and trade, use this. Understand this. Use 5% of your portfolio to do that, not more than that. Yeah. When you go to short, naked short, yeah, maybe 20%. You don't have leverage there. And say, for example, you're shorting Bitcoin at this price, or 110,000 or 108,000. Literally, you are only liquidated if it goes to 210,000. Yeah. Your risk is substantially low. What's your ROI? Maybe that can go to 15,000, maybe lower than that. But it won't happen in one stretch. It will play out in some time. So basic equations and basic ideas remain important. I would argue now we'll be doing these videos every day. I'm back home. I'm back in the office, as you can see. And the one-on-one sessions are going to be like a marathon from here. I'm charting it outside the Calendly. I'm putting in extra time. And if you are in those tiers up there where you paid for 2 sessions, 3 sessions, and you only got 1 or 2, you have pending, don't worry. It's going to be completed in next 2 weeks. I'm going to sit here and do marathon sessions, but make sure you guys have the right time, because I've seen last couple of days, there was a lot of cancellation. I'm like, that's not good, because I'm finding extra time, giving it to a few, and then they don't come. So the other guys who wanted that slot misses it. So when your schedule fits right, we'll do that and make sure in next 2 weeks, all the pending sessions are done. And make sure if you want all of those, where should you be? This is where 1,700 plus individuals around the globe make the right decision. Not what the general market says, the right decision. Use that link in the description below to reach there. And if you received value, smash the like button. I'll meet you guys in the next video. Bye for now.